1, Part 1, Dusk, Chapter 1. It started as practice, just a little game, a little exercise, something I needed to prove to myself. I wasn't sure when it had evolved into a sport, my shameful secret rebellion. Some might find it stupid for me, a human, to hunt at night when I was at a considerable disadvantage compared to my prey. But the night was when they acted, and so it was when I did too. I pressed to the wall, the dagger clenched tight in my hands. The night was warm, the kind when sun's heat clung to the steamy humidity of the air long after sunset. The smell hung in thick, rotten cloud, rancid food from the trash in the alleys, yes, but also decaying meat and sour blood. The vampires didn't care to clean up after themselves here, in the human districts of the House of Night. Humans were supposed to be safe here within the walls of the kingdom. Citizens, if inferior ones, weaker than the Nightborn in every way. But that second truth too often rendered the first one irrelevant. The man was a high-edge, his wings tucked in close to the back. Apparently, he wasn't much of a magic user because he didn't spirit them away for easier hunting. Or maybe he just enjoyed the effect that they had on his prey. Some of them were showy like that. They liked to be feared. From the rooftop, I watched the man stalk his target, a little boy, perhaps 10. Though small from the obvious malnourishment, the boy was in fenced-in dirt yard of a clay house, bouncing a ball from over and over again, oblivious to death creeping up on him. It was so stupid for this boy to be out at night alone. But then again, I knew better than anyone how growing up in constant danger could wear upon a person. Maybe this family has kept their children inside after dark every single day for the last 10 years. It only took one lapse, one distracted mother who forgot to call him back, one grumpy child who wasn't ready to come inside for dinner. Just one night in a lifetime. It happened so often, but it wouldn't happen tonight. When the vampire moved, so did I. I dropped from the rooftop down to the cobblestone. It was quiet, but vampire hearing was impeccable. The man turned, greeting me with eyes and a curled lip, which revealed glint of sharp ivory. Did he recognize me? Sometimes they did. I didn't give this one a chance. It was practically routine by now, a system I'd honed to perfection on hundreds of nights just like this one. Wings first, two slashes, one through each, enough to keep him from flying. With high-edge vampires, that was easy. The membranous skin was delicate as paper. Sometimes I could watch Rishan vampires instead, and that was a bit more challenging. Their feathered wings were harder to puncture, but I had refined the technique. This step was important, and that is why it came first. I needed to keep them here on the ground with me. I made the mistake of skipping it once, and I almost didn't survive to learn the lesson. I couldn't be stronger than them, so had to be more precise, no time for mistakes. The vampire let down a sound between a gasp of pain and a snarl of rage. My heartbeat had become a rapid drum. Blood close to the surface of my skin. I wondered if he smelled it. I spent my entire life trying to hide the flush of my blood, but right now I was glad for it. It made them stupid. This fool wasn't even armed, yet he still threw himself at me without a care in the world. I loved it, really, truly loved it when they underestimated me. A blade to the side beneath the ribs, another to the throat, not enough to kill, enough to make him falter. I pushed him against the wall, one blade skewering him to keep him still. I'd coated the edges of Divint, a fast-acting paralytic potent, though short-lived. It could only work few minutes, but that was all I needed. He only managed a couple of scratches along my cheek with razor-tipped fingers before his movement began to weaken. And just when I saw his eyes blink fast, like he was trying to wake himself up, I struck. You have to push hard to make it through the breastbone. I did, hard enough to crack the bone, to open the passage to his heart. Vampires were stronger than me in every way, their bodies more muscular, movements more swifter, teeth more sharper. But their heart were just as soft. The moment my blade punctured their chest, I always heard my father's voice. Don't look away, little serpent, Vincent whispered in my ear. I didn't. Not then and not now. Because I knew what I'd see there in the darkness. I knew I'd see the beautiful face of the boy I once loved very much and exactly how it looked when my knife sliced into his chest. Vampires were the children of the goddess of death, so it was a bit funny to me that they feared it just as much as humans did. I watched them every time and I saw the terror settle over their faces as they realized it was coming for them. At least in this, we were the same. At least we are all fucking cowards in the end. Vampire blood was darker than human blood, almost black, as if darkened over layer of human blood and animal blood consumed over the course of centuries. Once I let the vampire fall, I was covered in it. I stepped back from the body. It was only then that I saw the family staring at me. I was quiet, but not quiet enough to avoid notice when I was practically on their doorstep. The boy was now clutched tight in his mother's arm. The man was with them too, and another child, a younger girl. They were thin, their clothes plain and threadbare, stained from long days of work. All four of them stood in the doorway, eyes locked on me. I froze like a stag caught by a tracker in the forest. Strange that it was these starving mountains, not the vampire, that turned me from the hunter to the hunted. Maybe it was because when I was with vampires, I knew what I was, but when I looked at these humans, the line grew blurry and ill defined. Like I was observing a twisted reflection of myself, or maybe I was the reflection. They were like me, and yet I could find nothing in common to speak between us. I imagined that if I opened my mouth to speak to them, we couldn't even understand the noises each other made. They looked like animals to me. The ugly truth was that perhaps a part of me was disgusted by them, the same way I was disgusted by all my own human flaws. And yet, another part of me, maybe the part that remembered that I once lived in a house just like this one, longed to venture closer. I wouldn't, of course. No, I wasn't a vampire. That much was abundantly clear every second of every day, but I wasn't one of them either. A shock of cold struck my cheek. I touched it, my fingers came back wet. Rain. The drops distributed our breathless silence. The woman stepped forward as if to say something, but I already slipped back into the shadows. I couldn't resist the detour. Normally, I would have scaled the castle directly to my room in the western towers. Instead, I climbed east, jumping the garden walls and heading towards servant quarters. I slipped in through the window, which overlooked an overgrown bush of indigo blue blossoms, which flushed silver in the moonlight. As soon as my feet touched the floor, I cursed, nearly toppling over, as what felt like a pile of liquid fabric slid beneath my boots over the smooth wood. The laugh sounded like a caw of the crows, devolving quickly into cacophony of cough. Silk, the old woman croaked. The best trap for little burglars. This place is like a fucking disaster, Ilana. Bah. She rounded the corner and peered at me through narrowed eyes, drawing in a deep rattling inhale of a cigar and letting the smoke out through her nose. She was dressed in cascading chiffon dyed in waves of colors. Black and grey streaked hair piled atop her head with admirable volume. Gold pendants dangled from each of her earlobes, and her wrinkled eyes were painted with shades of grey blue and a generous lining of coal. Her apartment was just as colorful and chaotic as she was. Clothing and jewels and bright paint strewn about every surface. I had come in through her living window, which I now pulled close against the rain. The place was tiny, but far nicer than the clay crumbling slums in the human district. She looked me up and down, rubbing her neck. I take no criticisms from the drowned rat like you. I glanced down at myself and blanched. Only now, in the warm lantern light, did I realize what a mess I was. You'd never guess you were pretty under all of that, Oriah, she went on, dead set on making yourself look as unappealing as possible. Which reminds me, I have something for you. Here. With knobby, arthritic hands, she fished out a crumpled pile beside her, then tossed a fistful of fabric across the room to me. Catch! I caught it in my fist, then unfolded it. The band of silk was nearly as long as I was tall, and as stunning deep violet with edges embroidered in gold. Made me think of you. Ilana leaned against the door frame and took another puff of her cigar. I just asked where did she had gotten something like this. Age had not made her fingers less deft or sticky. You should keep it. I don't wear this sort of stuff, you know that. Day to day, I only wore black, plain clothing that attracted little attention and allowed me a free range of movement. I didn't even wear anything bright.